Hare Krishna.
Welcome. This service is provided by freeconferencecall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danatranam. The recording has started.
Can we start?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your session. We are very fortunate today. Today's class is given by His Grace, Ramgiridhari Prabhuji. We are reading CC.Madhya.24.14, 24 chapters from 24, verse number 24 onwards, Prabhuji. Please take over the conference. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhuji, actually it was 24.14, 1/4. So you can start. Okay. Oh, sorry, Prabhuji, it was in the... Okay, sorry, Prabhuji, from 24 chapters, verse number 14.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So we are reading Madhya Lila chapter 24, text number 14 onwards. It's a very interesting chapter titled The 61 Explanations of the Atma Rama Verse. Text 14. Muniyadi Shabdera Artha Suna Sanatana Pratak Pratak Artha Pache Kariba Milana. My dear Sanatana, first hear the meanings of the other words beginning with the word Muni. I shall first explain their separate meanings, then combine them. Text 15. Muni Shabde Mananashila Arakahe Mauni Tapashvi Vrati Yati Ar Rishi Muni. Translation. The word Muni refers to one who is thoughtful, one who is grave or silent, an ascetic, one who keeps great vows, one in the renounced order, and a saint. These are the different meanings of the word Muni. So we are going to read these two verses today, and as a part of these two verses, we will have some discussions. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, our discussion on Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have already finished the chapter where Mahaprabhu spoke about the processes for developing loving relationship with Krishna, and we had some very interesting set of learnings from that chapter. After finishing his discussions, Sanatana Goswami requested Mahaprabhu for more nectar. And the nectar from Mahaprabhu in this chapter involve the discussion on the most famous verse, Atma Ramasya Munayaha. So this shloka is the shloka number 14 and 15, or in the context of that shloka, the overall shloka indicates that those who are liberated souls, and if they are fully self-satisfied, will eventually become devotees of the Lord. So, this injunction is especially meant for the impersonalists, since impersonalists remain satisfied with impersonal Brahman. They are satisfied only with the Brahman aspect of the Supreme Lord. Mahaprabhu had explained this verse to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, but Sanatana Goswami requested that this verse be discussed again. And this particular verse, Mahaprabhu is actually dissecting word by word. There are 11 items Mahaprabhu is going to describe in this verse. And already you have finished discussing about the Atma Rama part of it. And I presume you also finished discussing about Cha part of it. And today we are going to discuss about the Muni part of it. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that 10 different subject matters are dealt in Srimad Bhagavatam. These 10 different subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam are scientific in nature, and as a part of that science, so many subject matters are analyzed. Atra sargo visargascha sthanam poshanam utaya manmantareshanukata nirodho muktirashraya. So Srimad Bhagavatam is dealing with 10 subject matters. Atraha, Atra Sarga, which means Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utaya, Manvantra, Ishanukata, Nirodha, Mukti. These are 9 subject matters which are all called Ashrita. And Krishna is called Ashraya. The reason this is referred in this current context is Mahaprabhu, when he is giving explanation to this Atma Ramasya Munayaha verse, he is telling Sanatana Goswami that I am a mad man. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is another madman. So I don't exactly remember what I spoke, but I will speak what I'm inspired about. So the point of inspiration, the point of glorification, the point of the discussion that Mahaprabhu is doing here refers to the ashraya part of it. Ashraya means shelter. Ashrita means that one which is dependent upon. Ashraya is actually the summum and bonum, where everything is emanating from, where everything is resting upon, and where everything merges after annihilation. Srimad Bhagavatam explains Ashraya from that point. So here Mahaprabhu is saying that I will represent according to the way I got inspired. I am going to get inspired in your association, Sanatana Goswami. So we are going to have some set of reflections, and through these reflections, let's try to reflect on this word Muni. The first reflection is about the part of Ashraya. Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is enlightening Sanatana Goswami based on the inspiration he is going to derive in Sanatana Goswami's association. So this version of Atma Ramasya Munayo that we are going to hear is tailor made to an extent. Mahaprabhu get inspired with Sanatana Goswami's association. So Krishna bestow his blessings for different people according to the way they relate with him, they surrender unto him. Yeyata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. So the way one reciprocates with Krishna, one relates with Krishna, Krishna reciprocate back with that person. Chapter 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, these all chapters of Madhyalila are very core, juicy chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita because that contains the essence of Mahaprabhu's ashraya, Mahaprabhu's blessings, Mahaprabhu's shelter. And Bhagavatam, that verse, the 10th subject matter verse, which is from 2nd canto, 10th chapter, shloka number 1. Of all the 10 subject matters, Sargaha, which means creation, Visarga is secondary creation, and so many details are there. So, of these 10 subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam, 9 are depending shelter, which includes created beings, which includes the secondary creation, which includes the maintenance of the universe, which includes Poshana, how devotees are taken care, who is a devotee, why devotee and Krishna have very special bonding, the importance and urge for creation, how different periods of the creation are controlled by different personalities, how scriptural information according to the incarnations on the earth is explained, and how things are wound up, and eventually how people are liberated. These are the 9 subject matters: Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshna, Mutaya, Manvantara, Ishanugata, Nirodha, Mukti. These 9 subject matters that I just listed, they are all requiring divine and supreme lords transcendental glance. And one of them is called Poshanam. Poshana means special care and protection for devotees by the Lord. So Prabhupada writes, as a king maintains his kingdom and subjects, but nevertheless gives special attention to the members of his family, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives special care to his devotees who are souls completely surrendered unto him. So our first reflection is about the word Muni. Here, Mahaprabhu explains Muni means one who is thoughtful, one who is grave or silent, one who is an ascetic, one who keeps great vows, one in the renounced order, and a saint. And these qualities, when they are combined with devotional sentiments, makes one qualified enough to become devotees by the ashraya of the Supreme Lord. So the first reflection is about the ashraya component. How, when these qualities are manifested, when somebody becomes Muni, somebody becomes Paramahamsa, somebody becomes Amalatma, then they become eligible enough to become the recipient of Lord's mercy. So Mahaprabhu is sharing this knowledge with Sanatana Goswami because Sanatana Goswami falls under any one of those categories. How do we know this? Kunti Maharani says in her prayers, Tata Paramahamsanam Muninam Amalatmanam. Kunti Maharani is praying to Krishna and said, my dear Krishna, I am a woman. I am a low class person. I am not eligible enough to understand you. Who can understand you? Tata Paramahamsanam. One who is a Paramahamsa. Muninam. One who is a Muni. Amalatmanam. One whose heart is cleansed of all anomalies. They can understand you. So Atma Ramasya Munayaha. So this Muni or a person who can be the patra, recipient of Krishna's mercy, is the one who is thoughtful, ascetic, grave, can keep great vows, one in the renounced order and a saint. So, Sanatana Goswami's personality, Sanatana Goswami's candidature, Sanatana Goswami's surrender made Mahaprabhu give shelter to Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami and all the Rupanugas. Anybody who follows Rupa and Sanatana's instructions through the parampara will also get the same ashraya. So the reflection is about the ashraya quotient. Even though Atma Ramasya Munaya used to encourage, elevate, inspire, bring out an impersonalist to a personalist zone. But what is that quality in the entire shloka is about the Muni part of it. Because unless somebody becomes Muni, unless somebody becomes a saint, unless somebody becomes thoughtful, unless somebody has vows to keep, unless somebody is grave, unless somebody is an ascetic, then intelligence, knowledge, surroundings, support system, all of them becomes futile. So when Mahaprabhu wanted us to take up this Krishna consciousness aspect of it, when Mahaprabhu wanted us to surrender to Krishna consciousness, the first and foremost thing that he is expecting is that we somehow or other get prepared enough to build in a quality which can attract Krishna's mercy. Which means we yearn to get a qualification to eventually get Krishna's mercy, which is what is demonstrated by Sanatana Goswami. So this is my first reflection. So Ashraya, everything else is Ashrita. What you are seeing out, the creation, the activities, the maintenance, the annihilation, the protection, the rescue, everything else is Ashrita. That which depends on or depending on the shelter. So we as devotees are dependent objects. And Krishna is Swarat. And Krishna being Swarat is definitely trying to give his special mercy and eventually become dependent upon these munis. It's a very interesting situation where Krishna is himself Swarat, fully independent, but as soon as Krishna comes in contact with his devotees, he becomes so dependent on them that without them he can't function. So it is Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. Krishna is simultaneously dependent and simultaneously independent. He is dependent on Amalatmana, Munis, and Paramahamsas, and is independent to everybody else. So this word Muni in this shloka becomes relevant for becoming a patra, becoming the recipient of Lord's mercy. Reflection number 2. In Madhurya Kadamini, there is a very interesting explanation about conscious beings. The conscious beings, whom we can call as Chaitanya, can be classified into two things or two categories. One category is called Ishvara, another category is called Jiva. The Ishvara category is further classified into two parts. One is Ishvara, who never comes under Maya, and another Ishvara category who allows Maya to touch them. This Ishvara category is Swarat, independent people. So examples are this Ishvara as Narayana, Vishnu, who cannot be touched by Maya, and another category of Ishvara who allows Maya to touch them, Lord Shiva, who is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. I'll explain why I am talking about this in a bit. So this Ishvara is the Ashraya part that I just spoke about. But there is also Jiva. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains this jiva into two categories. One whose intelligence is not covered by ignorance, and one whose intelligence is covered by ignorance. One whose intelligence is not covered by ignorance, Munis fall under the category. One whose intelligence is covered by ignorance, they are all people in sense gratificatory propensity, animals, to some extent, some devatas also. One whose intelligence is not covered by ignorance. They are of two classes. One who is under the influence of Lord's Aishwarya Shakti, like Brahma in Brahma Vimohan Lila. Second is one who is not influenced by that. This is a bit technical, but better to understand. This is from the third chapter of Madhurya Kadamini. If you have the book, you can refer that. I'll just repeat what I just said a few minutes before for that to get to the context. So there are conscious beings. There are two classifications. One is independent, second is dependent. Independent ones are called Ishwaras, dependent are Jiva. An independent classification has got two more further. One who is never touched by Maya, one who is allowing Maya to touch. Example is Narayana, in the case, one who does not allow anybody to touch, Maya to touch. Srimad-Bhagavatam 10.88.5. Another one is one who allows Maya to touch. Srimad-Bhagavatam 10.88.3. Can refer the shloka what I am talking about. This is about Ishvara. But about Jiva, there are two classifications. Not covered by ignorance, clean. And second is covered by ignorance, unclean. This not covered by ignorance has got two parts. One is one who is under the influence of Lord's Aishwarya Shakti, and one who is not under the influence of Lord Aishwarya Shakti. So the Muni about which we are discussing today comes under this category of one whose intelligence is not covered by ignorance. But we will see about this two classifications. One who is influenced by Lord's Aishwarya Shakti and not influenced by that Shakti. One who is influenced by Lord's Aishwarya Shakti, they are called absorbed in Jnana, belonging to the spiritual spheres. Example, 4 Kumaras. And they are absorbed in the function of creation, etc. of the material sphere, Brahma. So Munis fall under this category. Because Munis are definitely self-realized, but self-realized to an extent to understand some aspect of Krishna's nature, but they are not completely freed from the covering of the Aishwarya Shakti, because of which they only appreciate Krishna's Sat, and to some extent Sat and Chit nature. They will not be able to understand Ananda nature without coming in contact with another pure devotee of the Lord. For both Brahma and also Kumaras, when Kumara were born, they immediately became impersonalists and they wanted to not be participating in any creation activities. And they were in the trance, impersonal realization. But when Narada Muni came in contact with them, when the flower fragrance from the Lord's Tulsi Har came and touched their nostrils, they immediately got self-realization. So this Muni stage, even though Kunti Maharani says Munis are eligible to get Krishna's attention, the eligibility is to an extent of appreciating some aspect of Krishna, not the entire aspect of Krishna, as a self realized devotee, like that of Vrindavan Vasis, like that of Goswamis, are able to realize. So, hence, this Atma Ramasya Munayaha is talking about impersonal people when they are fully satisfied in self, when there is no quotient of sense gratification, when there is no quotient of sinful life, when there is no quotient of any amount of other anomalies, and they are fully self satisfied, they can become devotees. So, Sanat Kumaras are a very good example because Sanat Kumaras were Munis, but they eventually became Paramahamsas. So, the second reflection is about understanding the position of who the Muni is and how that nature of Muni is explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with these six characteristics, and all of them falls under this classification. One who is absorbed in jnana, always remembering, appreciating about Krishna's Sat and Chit nature. They are still not exactly enjoying the Ananda nature of the Lord, and that way, for that, they need to come in contact with Krishna's dear devotees. As soon as they come in contact with Krishna's dear devotees, it is no matter of time because they have already finished the stage of cleansing their anomalies in the heart. They are already clean. There is no personal sense gratificatory propensity. Just that because of not getting exposed, they are there. But as soon as they come in contact with the pure devotee of the Lord, they will become self realized souls to an extent that Krishna will reside in their heart. So in Madhurya Kadamini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura says, the jivas whose intelligence is not covered by Aishwarya Shakti. What is not intelligence not covered by Aishwarya Shakti? Vrindavan Vasis. You cannot allure them by any sort of allurement. You give any allurement, any distraction, any quotients to say, you take this as a replacement for your love for Krishna, you can't satisfy them. They are okay to suffer. They are okay to go through challenges. They are only interested in Krishna. So the category B is, the second one is those who are not influenced by Shakti. They are the one who are practicing pure devotional service. So some of them, they also practice other yogas, but then eventually they have developed some relationship with Krishna because their intelligence is not covered by Krishna's Aishwarya Shakti. These conversations about this Atma Ramasya Munaya is above the materialistic platform conversation. We are not talking about any materialistic quotients. We are not talking about any anarthas. We are not talking about any sinful propensities. We are not talking about any criticisms and offenses. We are talking about a stage where even though you are pure, even though you are self-satisfied, even though you are situated in your own self, your intelligence is covered by Krishna's Aishwarya Shakti. Brahma got completely captivated. They couldn't comprehend Krishna being a small cowherd boy. So that's a stage. And that's why it is said that they are immediately qualified to become devotees. And Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita, first chapter all the way till 5-6 chapters, in various purports, He is trying to highlight how we need to get self situated and how we need to be self satisfied. That is why this famous verse, uh, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhyate param, becomes very relevant in this context. So Munis are the one whom you can call as Brahmabhuta prasannatma. And what are the qualities? These are the qualities: thoughtfulness, one who has great vows, one who is in the renounced order, one who is a saint, one who is grave. But what is missing in this? Prema, seva, sangha, because they are still covered by intelligence, covered by Aishwarya Shakti. So the Munis are great people. At the same time, their intelligence is covered. To an extent, they appreciate the Supreme Lord, they surrender to the Supreme Lord, they don't love the Supreme Lord, neither they love the Supreme Lord's family. They're still in the intelligential quotient. Srila Prabhupada writes in the chapter 14 of Nectar of Devotion, first paragraph. Srila Prabhupada writes that knowledge and renunciation are very important for one person to progress in Krishna consciousness. But this knowledge and renunciation is not everything in Krishna consciousness. After a point in time, this knowledge and renunciation is not going to be useful. And what is going to make them devotees is their sincerity and their sentiments. Chapter 14, Nectar of Devotion, first paragraph. That's exactly fitting into this current context. Munis are the category of people who are interested in knowledge and renunciation. Munis are those people who are completely involved themselves in classical analytical study of Krishna's, Sankhya, Jnana Yoga, and related subject matters, which is definitely in the progressive path towards Krishna. That's why they are all thoughtful. They are not some sense gratifiers. So Prabhupada writes that this knowledge and renunciation will definitely elevate them. But after a point in time, will it give them access to Krishna's confidential Leela? Will it give access to Krishna's rasas? Will it give access to Krishna's mellows? Will it give access to Krishna's love and relationship with his devotees? Will it give Krishna access to his most confidential, transactions? No. For that, Prabhupada says, your sincerity and sentiment are required. So the context that we need to understand is about Muni is a great position or personalities, but our Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta is going to add another component called Prema. Mahaprabhu is going to explain, he already explained in the last whole chapter about Prema Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, classification of Prema Bhakti. In the very next chapter, he is also going to talk about how everybody became devotees in Varanasi. So this description of Atma Ramasya Munayo was very much needed because so many impersonalists, they use this verse to establish their Siddhanta, and Mahaprabhu used the same verse to position their Siddhanta in the hierarchy. That's my third reflection. The third reflection is Atma Ramasya Munaya. The reason Mahaprabhu explained to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the reason Sanatana Goswami is interested in knowing that is, it's an important preaching component. Because Srila Prabhupada writes in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya that this verse is used by impersonalists to propagate their ideologies, to establish their philosophy from the impersonalist point of view. But when a personalist, when Gaudiya Vaishnavas, when they perceive this verse in the same context of positioning in the ladder of bhakti, they know where to position this. And hence, this stage of Muni is a stage just before we are entering the stage of rasa, enjoyment, mellow, transaction, love, seva, etc. So the third reflection is about how this is positioned. The reason Sanatana Goswami is clarifying this question is also to help us, shield us, not to get carried away by impersonalist philosophy. Because impersonalist philosophy, being conclusive, is detrimental to our devotional journey because they are not full and in some places they are offensive. So, in the further classes and further discussions, you will all be discussing about um, the remaining components of this verse, and there are much more to this chapter. So, the third reflection is about how this verse is nicely positioned in the um, devotional ladder. It is positioned in a stage that it is just before it is entering bhakti. It is said the end of karma yoga is the beginning of jnana yoga. The end of jnana yoga is the beginning of bhakti yoga. And the end of bhakti is the beginning of prema bhakti. The point is that what is end of jnana yoga means? What is end of karma yoga actually means? I try to accumulate resources, started dealing with things. Karma became karma yoga, from sakama to nishkama. And at one point in time, I realized that all these things are maya, all these things are, useless when they are not connected with Krishna. So I started to search for the source. So the end of karma yoga, when I'm getting satiated with handling with things around, I'm starting to think about jnana yoga. And as I'm searching about the truth, I finally come to the truth. Ultimately, everything comes from Krishna. Krishna is the controller, and how he is creating this universe, how he is managing this universe, how he is, manifesting so many things. When you start to get some affinity towards him, that's when you enter bhakti. So that stage is called stage of Muni. I am thinking, because I know this is nonsense, I still can't accept that love because I feel that is sentimental and fanatic. So I'm going through the stage of analytical study, and eventually, by the mercy of devotees, I enter there. And what is that stage of being a devotee after being a Muni? It's very interesting. Srila Prabhupada compares Maitreya Rishi and Uddhava. Both have heard Srimad Bhagavatam. Both have heard from Krishna. Both are self-realized souls. But Maitreya Rishi has got a tinge of impersonalism. The third kind of Srimad Bhagavatam, first or second chapter, Srila Prabhupada is explaining. So the difference between Maitreya Rishi and Uddhava was considered as a pure, self-realized soul, about whom we spoke about last chapter. How the self-realized souls are, his characteristics, his classifications, his symptoms. And Maitreya Rishi is equally competent. He can glorify, but he couldn't have done that unless he heard Srimad Bhagavatam. Because he heard Srimad Bhagavatam, because he heard the conversation between Krishna and Uddhava, he got the qualification to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So, in our journey of Krishna consciousness, the stage of Muni is embedded through our sadhana process. So, when Srila Prabhupada is encouraging us to control our senses, regulate our consciousness, have a strict sadhana, it is a process in the bhakti where it is inbuilt to prepare us to get self realized and self situated. So, in our journey to Krishna consciousness, we should not undermine the position of Muni just because we are in the process of devotional service. At the same time, we should not get carried away by the position of a Muni and not to take part in the transcendental rasas. So, to summarize our conversation, we had three sets of reflections. First set of reflection is about Ashraya. How Krishna is Ashraya and how everything else is Ashrita. A Mahaprabhu here is giving shelter to Sanatana Goswami and imparting knowledge. If you refer the previous verses, Mahaprabhu is saying that I am going to speak based on what I'm going to be inspired to speak from within. How can Krishna say that statement? He is all cognizant. But Krishna is saying, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I will only speak what I'm inspired to speak, which means I will bestow the mercy upon you proportionate to how much you are able to assimilate. So, eyatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. So that is why this 10th subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam is very important. And that's why Srila Prabhupada says, unless you read Srimad Bhagavatam systematically, where first 9 chapters is talking about the Ashrita part of the Supreme Lord, and the 10th chapter, 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam talks about the Ashraya part of the Supreme Lord. And once somebody know the combination of this, they'll be able to get a complete picture. So this Atma Ramasya Munayaha verse is now coming to us as a Gaudiya Vaishnava version of it by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami, directly proportionate to his surrender and his curiosity and inclination to learn this from the lotus mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to contradict, to counteract, to convince even the impersonalists who use this verse to establish their Siddhanta. The second reflection that we had was about how a conscious being, we were discussing about the Muni's position, and we discussed about how Chaitanya, conscious beings are classified into Jivatma and Ishvara. Ishvara classified into one who is affected, not affected by Maya, one who is affected, one who allows Maya to touch them. Example of Vishnu and Lord Shiva. And with respect to Jiva, again we have two classifications. One who is not covered by ignorance, and another one is one who is covered by ignorance. One who is covered by ignorance, it's all us people like those who are struggling in this material world, animals, some devatas. One who is not covered by ignorance, they are all somebody, the Muni category. But one who is covered by, not covered by ignorance, have also two classifications according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. One is one whose eyes are covered by Lord's Aishwarya Shakti. It is not ignorance, it is not some sort of an anomaly. Just because they are overwhelmed with Lord's Aishwarya Shakti, they are not able to penetrate beyond that point in time. And one who is crossing beyond those Shakti. And the example is Sanat Kumaras, Brahma are the ones whose intelligence, who are under the influence of Lord's Aishwarya Shakti, they get overwhelmed. Wow, so much, so nice, so great, and they are clean, very nice. But Shastra says their understanding is only to the technical aspect of understanding the Supreme Lord. They only seen the Aishwarya, Sat and Chit nature of Krishna, but they have not got to the Ananda nature of Krishna. They may not even know the Vigraha part of Krishna to some extent. They may still think about Krishna being impersonal only till the point in time when they come in contact with the pure devotee. And as soon as they come in contact with the pure devotee, their transformation is quick. And I gave a reference to Nectar of Devotion where Prabhupada says knowledge and renunciation can definitely help us to rise to a specific platform, but sincerity and sentiments will eventually give access to Krishna's transcendental mellows. And finally, the third reflection is about the positioning of this uh, Muni in the ladder of devotional life, where we discussed that how in the journey of Krishna consciousness, when somebody is practicing Krishna consciousness, they need to go through this and imbibe these characteristics. These characteristics are very important. Being thoughtful is very important. Being grave and silent is important. Ascetic is important. Keeping vows are important. They're very important. But if they are not corroborated with devotional sentiments, they remain only informative. If they are not supported by devotional emotions, they remain only technical. So hence, we need to position this as uh, a stage where a person is finishing jnana yoga, jnana understanding, and from jnana's end is the beginning of bhakti, and that's the stage where these munis are situated. As Kunti Maharani is praying, that these prayers, these personalities, Paramahamsa, Muni, Amalatmana, they are all qualified to understand the Supreme Lord. Not everybody can understand the Supreme Lord. And these people who are not covered by Krishna's Aishwarya Shakti are the one who are performing pure devotion. And in the process of pure devotion service, for them, they are beyond technicalities, they are beyond knowledge, beyond renunciation. Only one thing in their life is called love and service. And there are many, many classifications which we already discussed. So, this is a simple explanation about this word Muni that Mahaprabhu has explained over here. He has repeated what he has repeated to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So we are going to go through this Atma Ramasya Munaya verse, and eventually Mahaprabhu is going to explain that how this Krishna consciousness process is sublime. And in the next chapter, he is going to talk about how the people of Varanasi are going to get delivered and becoming a devotees. So let us take advantage of being part of this Sankirtan movement. Let us take advantage by by being part of this wonderful process where love and sentiments are expressed in corroboration with knowledge and renunciation. We are not extremely fanatics to an extent that we don't have any philosophical substantiation, nor we are so dry philosophers that we don't have any emotions. So this is a very interesting scenario, very interesting combination where Mahaprabhu has scientifically elevated us, given us a path to go back home, back to Godhead, and challenge the so-called unscrupulous philosophies that are going around. Thank you so much. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam and Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If there are any questions or comments, we can discuss.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for such an insightful class you gave and just such one good belief. And I'm so grateful to you for this. And so grateful, complex that you explained this prayer and this belief by participating each and every class. So thank you once again for this beautiful, beautiful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, all glory to the Prabhupada Guru Maharaji. Again, I have to quickly acknowledge you and saying very, very beautiful class. Thank you very much. I have one question.
Sure.
You were speaking about um, the Shwarat, the Lord, the two different types, Jivatma, and then the, oh my God, I forgot my question. Hold on one second. You were saying that those Shaktis, because you said Aishwarya Shakti, those that occurs by Aishwarya Shakti, the Brahma and Kumara, and then you said that independent Lord, the Swarat, that allows itself to be covered by Maya, to an example of Lord Shiva, and that who is independent, who does not allow it. So where does the whole idea of when Krishna is in Damodar Lila and he allows himself to be covered by Yoga Maya? So what's the difference between that independent Lord who allows himself to be covered by Yoga Maya and then Lord Shiva, as you're explaining, who allows himself to be covered by Maya?
Okay.
Is it because of a different Maya?
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I kind of understood. So I'll try my best to clarify. So whenever we talk about Krishna in bewilderment, whenever we talk about different Leela where Krishna forgets himself or Krishna's identity is, Krishna loses his own self, Krishna is completely lost. So any of those things, whether it is about Vrindavan Leela, whether it is Damodar Leela, or when Krishna is with gopis, he's forgetting the whole world, or when Krishna is in Dwaraka and thinking always about Vrindavan Vasis, whenever we talk about any of those things, they are directly controlled by Krishna's internal potency. So when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura is referring the word Maya, is talking about Krishna's external energy. So Krishna's external energy, for example, Lord Shiva, in terms of his annihilation part, Lord Shiva being participating in destruction, participating in some of the managerial aspect of this universe, because of the function that he need to do, he is allowing himself to be touched by Maya. For example, Lord Shiva is becoming Shankaracharya to go and propagate Mayavada philosophy, which is against the pure devotee of the Lord. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Mayavada Bhashya Hoile Sunile Sarvanas. If that is a propensity all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas or all the Vaishnavas possess, how did the Param Vaishnava Krishna, Param Vaishnava Shiva allowed Maya to touch them? Because Shiva thought this is untouched territory. Nobody wants to do this service. Nobody wants to drink the halahal poison. So he took the responsibility and went there. Nobody want to go and preach to Bhutas, Bhutaganas. He volunteered to do that. And nobody wanted to go and actually fix the situation where this Brahmanas and all the unscrupulous men had damaged. So he had to go and restore the situation. So he accepts such tough services, even though he is Ishvara, even though he is part of Krishna's Gunavatar, he is allowing Maya to touch them, influence him for Krishna's service, even though he is Swarat. He is part of the independent category. But when Krishna's Damodar Leela portions are coming up, that is nothing to do with, people. That is purely to do with him, Krishna, and his beloved devotees. There is no quotient of, because the rasa, to increase the melody, increase the emotions, to give the exchange of adan pradan, give and take. So Krishna is enjoying, for which Yoga Maya, Krishna's internal potency, is facilitating. None of us can comprehend. All we can do is that hear and get purified. Comprehending part is only taken care by those who are participating. Even they also can't comprehend. When we hear about Damodar Lila, we can only get astonished. Sometimes we can say, my God, Krishna is great, and that's it. If we try to analyze, we will fail because it is covered by Yoga Maya. If you want to penetrate into the Yoga Maya zone, then you need to acquire the characteristics of a self-realized soul blessed by another self-realized soul. So the independent category where accept by Maya in case of Lord Shiva is also meant for service to the Supreme Lord. So Krishna himself expand himself as Lord Shiva, allowing Maya to influence so that he can do that specific service. This is in case of Ishvara. In the case of Jivas, we already spoke about how Brahma and Sanat Kumaras are covered by Krishna's Aishwarya Shakti, and that way they are still exhibiting some amount of primitiveness in their understanding of Krishna till they come in contact with self-realized souls. For Sanat Kumaras, Narada Muni came and blessed, and as soon as Narada Muni met them, Narada Muni took them to Vaikuntha, and as soon as they came to Vaikuntha, that's it. They're already giving Bhagavatam classes. Till that point in time, they were just self-satisfied in impersonal Brahman. So the whole idea of bewilderment is controlled by Maya in different level. In case of Krishna Lila, is Yoga Maya. In case of Lord Shiva, it is Krishna expanding himself as Vishnu, expanding himself as Lord Shiva to allow himself to be influenced so that he can do the most untouched services. So that is why Lord Shiva is considered as a Param Vaishnava, because he's choosing those services for the pleasure of the Lord, which nobody else is interested in doing. So preaching to demons and bhutas and bhutaganas, trying to do Mayavada preaching, even though within the heart of heart is to glorify Krishna and such things, that Lord Shiva is choosing to do it. It is only by his allowing he is getting adulterated. Otherwise he cannot be adulterated. Am I making some sense here?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, I do. That's part. I kind of got cut off in the beginning, but I got back on. I understood the last part. So basically, so I understand that the Shiva is doing a service, whereas final dimension, and that Krishna Damodar is actually an enhancement of the relationship between the other devotees.
Yes, Krishna is enjoying, Shiva is serving. You can understand that way. Krishna will only enjoy. Rest, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments?
One question, Prabhu.
Sure.
So basically, we elaborately explained about the word Vinaya. Can you briefly summarize what is the difference between the Vaishnava and the Muni?
A Vaishnava is the one who knows the knowledge, applies the knowledge, act on the knowledge, and preach on the knowledge. Muni is the one who is knowing the knowledge, still trying to understand the knowledge. He is in the verge of being ready to be applied when he comes in contact with any person who is applying it. So the difference is in terms of knowledge. In terms of knowledge, both Muni and Vaishnava are one and same. In terms of assimilation, Muni and Vaishnava are more or less one and same. In terms of application, Muni is still halfway applying, not fully applying. In terms of Muni to become a fully applying, he need to come in contact with another devotee. That's why Prabhupada explains that a Muni can very easily. There is some layer of impersonalism in Muni. That's the whole message here. Muni has got some impersonalism because he has still not tasted the personal aspect of the Supreme Lord. And Vaishnava fully, at least, have realized that part, and he is participating in that, seva and sangha aspect of it, which is missing in the case of Muni. So if you read the meaning of the Muni that Mahaprabhu has explained, thoughtful, grave, silent, ascetic, vows, renounced order, saint, all these things are about very qualitative nature, but that does not have any rasa here. These are all very interesting, important qualities for you to become a devotee. But these qualities in itself cannot make you a devotee. With these qualities, you have to participate in some service. With these qualities, you are supposed to glorify the Lord. With these qualities, you are supposed to take darshan of the Lord. With these qualities, you are supposed to be with the Lord or with the Lord's devotees. Then these qualities will pan out to such a state that Krishna can, express his own heart and relate with that person more. Am I making some sense?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Oh,
So, Prabhuji, one follow-up question on the same thing.
sure.
So what's the difference between a Brahmana and a Muni, Prabhuji?
Basically, in terms of Varnashrama system, the definition of Brahmana and Muni, a Brahmana technically is not supposed to be only theoretical person. A Brahmana is the one who educates a person to also put it in practice. So, I mean, Brahmana and Muni are not a Muni could as well be a Brahmana, a Muni could as well be a Kshatriya, a Muni could as well be a Vaishya. Muni does not have restriction on which Varna you belongs to. Brahmana is about your consciousness level and the kind of function that you do. So Muni is about your consciousness level. Brahmana is about your function that you are executing in the Varnashrama system. So it is like a Vaishnava. I can be a Brahmana Vaishnava, Kshatriya Vaishnava, Vaishya Vaishnava, Shudra Vaishnava. It's possible. I can be a Vaishnava who is Shudra in nature. I can be a Vaishnava who is Vaishya in nature. But then this is about our functions. So Brahmana and Muni, they are not, they are actually not two separate classification. They are two separate components who work towards each other. A Brahmana could be a Muni. You see my point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So basically that's the kind of match you can understand.
Yeah. So, Prabhuji, so one example, Muni example, Durvasa Muni, he always here. So he's one example, right? So who one for
Yes.
we
Yes.
have to quote one example.
Yes. Durvasa Muni is an example. Maitreya Rishi is an example. Durvasa Muni and Maitreya Rishi are very good examples. Maitreya Rishi, because he came in contact with Uddhava, he could speak Srimad Bhagavatam. Durvasa Muni, even though he could go to Vaikuntha Loka to see Vishnu, Vishnu couldn't rescue till he sent him back to Ambarish Maharaj. A Muni can have an ability to go inside Vaikuntha to go and see the Supreme Lord, but he's not accepted there till he has got a Midas touch of a Vaishnava. You see my point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So you can be qualified, you can be skilled. Just because you are skilled, you are not welcomed. In Mayapur Gaur Purnima festival, we need so many cooks to cook for Shishi Radha Madhav. I may be a superlative 5-star chef. I know to make a lot of cuisines. Does not give me entitlement to go and cook for Radha Madhav unless and otherwise I convince myself to be a devotee and exhibit the symptoms of a devotee. So Muni is skill, very good skill. I mean, this is not a don't map it to the gross level. I'm just trying to give some sort of a indicative example to relate to this. By just being a Muni, you can have some entitlement. But to have access to Krishna's confidential and rasas, you definitely need other aspects of devotional quotients. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nice explanation. One more question, Prabhu.
Sure.
Like with the Ashram of the Mundare work,
Yeah.
we hear so many different meanings, Prabhu.
Right.
Like how do we reconcile, Prabhu? There are so many meanings. Do we need to get confused or do we need to?
Well, the point is this: there are 11 aspects in this Atma Ramasya Muneha verse, and Mahaprabhu is putting together is giving 61 different explanation to this. That's the whole chapter that we are doing. The whole purpose of this explanation is, or I can say the whole purpose of re-explaining the same verse that Mahaprabhu already explained to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is that this is meant because generally this verse is taken by impersonalists to explain their Siddhanta. So this verse you cannot consolidate in one single word or one single line, because Mayavada philosophy is in itself by design complicated. If somebody is really Mayavadic, it is very difficult to deal. In fact, whatever little bit of Mayavada you and me will know is nothing in comparison with what actually Shankaracharya propagated. If you really sit with some bona fide Mayavadis, there is a 9 out of 10 chances that we will also become Mayavadis, because the philosophy is convincing and confusing to an extent that we will not be able to come out of that mess. That is why Mahaprabhu says we should be staying out of that, brat. We should be staying out of that, group. Mayavada Bhashya Sunile Hoile Sarvanas. Those Mayavadic impersonalist philosophers, they use this verse. They give an explanation of what Atma means, what Rama means, what Munaya means. So they give their own interpretation, and just because they are using Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the most personified way of glorifying the Lord, if they are using that Srimad Bhagavatam to portray Krishna as an impersonal personality, so it is an offense, or it is not acceptable. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken an endeavor to clarify what it actually means. So this verse you cannot reconcile into a singular line formula. It is meant to be complex because it is meant to deal with complex people. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Very nice explanation. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Oh, Hare Krishna. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a repetition, I mean. So, you were saying that this last question you're answering, that the distinction between Brahmana and Muni, I think you said that Brahmana is more with the function of a person in society, whereas Muni refers more to a person's level of consciousness, correct?
Yes, you're right. Like, for example, Vishwamitra Muni. Vishwamitra Muni was a Kshatriya before he became a Muni. Durvasa Muni was a Brahmana. So you have different Varnas could as well become Muni. And just by the virtue of them being Muni, they will not be able to enter beyond a certain stage in the mellows of spirituality. That's the restriction.
Okay. And the word Brahma is also so kind of confusing because I think that same word seems to have different meanings depending upon its context, right?
Yes. So we are just talking, eventually Mahaprabhu is going to merge these words and going to explain. So we are going to speak about that in the future verses. But today we took only Muni as a singular word and went around that. Now when Muni combined with that, this may pan out into another a big giant personality. So I'm sure in the future classes, esteemed speakers will throw some light on it. We just spoke about Muni and the context of Muni.
But when we spoke about Brahma, we spoke about him in the context of, in the context of one of the four ashrams, or the Brahma as his function as a Varna or ashram, I forget now.
Varna.
Varna, yeah. Okay, so also you said that Maitreya Muni, he touched with impersonalism. What was that touch?
Uddhava and Krishna. He heard from Uddhava when Uddhava and Krishna were discussing. That time Maitreya Muni reached that place and he heard all the conversation. When Krishna gave Uddhava Gita, Maitreya Muni heard that.
But before he heard that, you said that he had this touch of impersonalism.
Yes.
So I'm asking, in what way was he touched with impersonalism?
Well, I don't know that. I don't know that. But he was an impersonalist. That's that much. Bhagavatam explains. From where did he get that impersonalism and how did he become so? I do not know.
Isn't it also true for Shukadeva Goswami that before he heard the Vedas from his father, I think, before he heard the story of Krishna, he was also
yes.
an impersonalist.
Yes, yes. Sukadeva Goswami is a very, thank you for bringing that. Sukadeva Goswami was in the, womb, and he was an impersonalist before he met Vasudev. As soon as he gets Srimad Bhagavatam, it took 2 minutes for him to change. That's all. That's the whole message I was telling. A Muni does not need a whole lot of efforts to become a devotee. Once he comes in contact with the devotee and hears about Krishna Katha, he is transformed. Unlike for us to become transformed to a devotee, it takes a whole lot of efforts. That is why Kunti Maharani is saying, Tata Paramahamsana Munina Mamalatmanam. Kunti Maharani is including Muni in her prayer because for Muni to understand Krishna, because they are already understanding some aspect of Krishna, not every aspect of Krishna.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last thing is there were two divisions of Swarat. One that allows himself to be touched by Maya, and the one that does not allow himself to be touched. The one who allows himself to be touched is Shiva.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think he was he the only one in that category?
I'm sorry. Well, I think I can only think of him at this point in time.
Okay, and then the ones who do allow themselves to be touched is all Vishnu Tattva. I mean, who does not allow? I mean.
Yes. Yes.
All Vishnu Tattva, including, of course, Krishna.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Supreme Personality.
You can read 10th canto, chapter 88, text number 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, ma. Dhanyavad.
Thank you so much for this. We have a discussion very much clear now. The lots of actually very difficult to understand. But you explanate it in the class. Thank you so much. Do you have any class and is there any question or comment for Prabhuji? Thank you so much for once again. Now we can see all everything. Great job, everybody.